How full of shit is Obama? He spends millions of dollars in 30 minutes on an infomercial, and then he doesn't even mention urban sprawl.
I spoke earlier about some of the immediate actions I'll take to address the economic crisis. We also have to take a longer view. We have to stop just talking about healthcare reform and lost jobs and energy independence, and finally do something about it. All across America, I've seen entrepreneurs and innovators who point the way to a better future, starting with energy independence. Recently, I visited the McKinstry Company in Seattle. They're retrofitting schools and office buildings to make them energy efficient, creating jobs, saving their customers money, reducing carbon emissions, and helping end our dependence on Middle Eastern oil. As president, I'll use companies like McKinstry as a model for the nation. I'll invest $15 billion a year in energy efficiency and renewable sources of energy, like wind, solar, and biofuels, creating 5 million clean energy jobs over the next decade, jobs that pay well and can never be outsourced. And I'll help our auto companies retool so that the fuel-efficient cars of the future are built right here in America. I'll also make it easier for you to afford these new cars with a tax credit so we can get as many on the road as possible. And to further reduce our demand for foreign oil, I'll tap our natural gas reserves, invest in clean coal technology, and expand domestic production of oil. But we know government can't do it all. That's why I'll call on every American to join in conservation efforts. I believe we need to usher in a new era of responsibility. Across the country, families are tightening their belts, and so should Washington. That's why, for my energy plan, my economic plan, and the other proposals you'll hear tonight, I've offered spending cuts above and beyond their cost. I'll also go through the federal budget, line by line, eliminating programs that don't work, and making the ones we do need work better and cost less. And one of the biggest savings we can make is to change our policy in Iraq. We're currently spending $10 billion a month in Iraq when they have a $79 billion surplus. It seems to me that if we're going to be strong at home as well as strong abroad, that we've got to look at bringing that war to a close. We are actually spending more in Iraq now than we were spending when the war first started. How many schools would that build? How many hospitals? How many people could get health care? How many college scholarships could we give our youth? It's time for us to invest some of that money right here in America.
When I read his economic plan and I saw the people endorsing it and all the new ideas, Warren Buffett and others, I thought, this is the right plan for America.
Barack has looked at the small business side of the American economy and says, look, that's where most innovation and entrepreneurship is. Let's give them the rocket fuel to really accelerate rather than giving tax cuts to, the Exxon Mobils or big oil companies that need not 1 ounce of help from government to be very, very successful.
So I'm not worried about CEOs. I'm not worried about corporate lobbyists. I'm not worried about the drug companies or the oil companies or the insurance companies. They'll be fine. They're going to look out for themselves. I'm worried about the couple that's trying to figure out how they're going to retire. I'm worried about the family that's trying to figure out how they can save for their child's college education. I'm worried about the single mom that doesn't have health insurance. I'm worried about the guy who's worked in a plant for 20 years and suddenly sees his job shipped overseas. That's who I'm worried about. And that's who I'm going to be fighting for and thinking about every single day that I'm in the White House.
Urban sprawl is a root cause of our environmental, national security, and transportation problems. He didn't mention it once, even when he started talking about Iraq.
I learned at an early age from my grandparents how vital it is to defend liberty. And as Commander-in-Chief, I will never hesitate to protect our country. As President, I'll rebuild our military to meet 21st century challenges. I'll renew the tough, direct diplomacy that can prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons and curb Russian aggression. And I'll refocus our efforts on finishing the fight against al-Qaeda and the Taliban in Afghanistan. But I'll also never forget that when I send our armed forces into battle, I'm sending sons and daughters and fathers and mothers. I still remember a woman I met in Iowa. Her son had shipped out to Iraq 2 weeks earlier. And I had a close friend who was on his way too. All right, I'll be praying for you.
Thank you very much.
All right? Okay. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
As a retired general officer from the U.S. Army,
It makes a difference to me how a potential commander-in-chief thinks about war and peace. That's what we're looking for in a president. Somebody that understands the stakes and has the courage and the judgment to approach them rationally and with a sense of duty to the Constitution and the people of the United States. And that's why I think he's going to be a great president.
Hey, Democrats, good luck on solving the world's problems without taking up the issue of urban sprawl.